sick is the worst. No, really, it sucks. My whole family's been sick all weekend this weekend. I'm amazed that God provided a way for me to sing this last Sunday. Whew. But the day after, man, I was wrecked. And of course, it's freezing in Houston. So let's talk about that. Welcome to Anything Goes, a journey home, a place to be encouraged, inspired, and motivated to do the same on your journey, wherever they may take you. I'm your host, Andrew Geist. As I said, I'm coming off the tail end of being sick. You might hear it a little bit in my voice. I'm amazed I was able to sing on Sunday. That was all God, not in any way, shape, or form me. Nevertheless, it hit me like a ton of bricks on Monday, and then it hit me even harder on Tuesday. And then I woke up this morning finally feeling like I had some energy, but man, this whole area up here is just rocked. And on top of all that, my wife got it too. It started with my daughter, as is always the case in a family. Then my son got it. Then my wife got it. And then my son decided to kiss my wife, who then decided to kiss me. And it just, yeah, you know how it goes. But I don't want to talk about being sick. And if you're looking for maybe some recovery tools or anything like that, I can share with you some things. But, the truth is, when you're sick, it's your body's way of telling you need to take a break. You've been going too hard. Or maybe you've just been more stressed than normal, and you need to embrace it, because the sooner you embrace it, the sooner you recognize I'm sick, I got to get better, the faster it is to get to recovery. My wife started her sickness right around Friday of last week, and she's still dealing with it. So I know this is going to be kind of a long one. It's the flu. What are you going to do? Nevertheless, I'm very grateful for the lessons learned, because over the weekend, it was my wife and I's 11-year anniversary. Not exactly how we wanted to spend it. Freezing our butts off, and also being completely and utterly sick and not being able to be any kind of close or intimate, and not being able to really care for each other all that well because we were both wiped out. But here's the thing that we realized. There are lessons to be learned from rest. There are lessons to be learned from the reality of your vows and your covenant with one another becoming very, very real in a very serious moment, as well as the importance of caring for the things that we have and being diligent and faithful with what God has entrusted us with. As I said, we dealt with a lot over the weekend, and we're still kind of dealing with ramifications. Truth is, Monday, Tuesday was freezing here in Houston, Texas, where we live. And we actually kind of got a stay-home order on Tuesday because it was that cold. It was sub-freezing. And man, we were doing everything in our power to keep our house warm and our kids warm. It's the first time we've actually lived in a scenario where it's been that cold that we had to be concerned about those things. Learned a whole lot about how to care for a heating system in a short amount of time, as well as learning how to care for your family while they're sick. It's funny. My wife and I talked about how we kind of gave each other the kiss of death. It was Thursday night, and just absentmindedly, we both just went in for a kiss, and she was already sick. And she got absolutely mortified and terrified because she knew I had to sing on Sunday for church. The truth is, at the end of the day, yes, I lead worship. Yes, I sing, but those aren't the realities of who I am. Who I am is a child of God and a father and a husband to my family. A worship leader is what I do. and how I serve and how I'm called. But I'm also called to be a good father and a good husband. So obviously it was challenging, and my wife needed me. And I'm not above kissing my wife because I love her. Nevertheless, I started feeling something around Saturday. And I woke up on Sunday not feeling the greatest, but well enough to sing. So as we got closer and closer to our wedding anniversary that Friday night, we knew that it wasn't going to be the greatest one. And so, to give you a little bit of a story, we were sitting in our living room, and my wife is utterly wrecked. And my daughter has got all kinds of energy because she is now a full week past it. And my son is kind of like right in the middle of it. And so he's kind of feeling crummy. And I'm doing okay. I'm feeling pretty energetic. And we had just shared a kiss saying, here's to another 50 more years. And then my wife said, "Hey, could I get some vitamin C?" And of course, I'm a loving husband. I'm going to oblige her. But I got an inspiration. We had some wine glasses that we rarely use for anything because we don't really consume alcohol in our house. Not because we have any problems with it, we just don't do it. Nevertheless, I put our vitamin C mixture into this wine glass and I brought it over to my wife and I said, "Well, let's toast to living out our covenant of loving each other in sickness and in health. And let us hope that we continue to do it for another 50 years." And we toasted. Yes, that was my sneaky way of getting myself some tea to continue talking. But it was a very sweet moment for the two of us because the truth was that was our situation. And we both knew that by the end of the weekend, it may reverse, which is exactly what happened. We had to both step up for each other in big ways over the weekend when neither one of us had the energy to be 100% there for our kids or for each other for that matter. And my wife is starting to get better and she's much further along than I am. And I'm starting to turn the curve as well. Nevertheless, it was just a very beautiful and sweet moment that as you love each other and you start to allow God and the Holy Spirit to reveal himself to you, and he reveals truths to you about his word and about what he's called you to be, you start to see his promises fulfilled in your life, and you can trust that where he's leading you is going to be a good thing. But on top of all that, we also learn the importance of a heater as well as a fireplace. And we are very blessed to have a gas run fireplace because in this season, around this time of the year, lots of places, lots of big cities like this, and Texas is no exception, they all send out warnings. Hey, our electrical grid can't take all of the pressure that may come from these extreme weather conditions. Can you please conserve energy? And of course, being that we're from California, we're all used to that kind of messaging and even to the extreme. But nevertheless, we're not above conserving energy because A, it saves us money, but if it helps out other people and it helps out our local city and our local network, we're happy to do that. So we cut back our energy a little bit and we goosed up our gas powered fireplace. And it was a beautiful, beautiful 2 days in our house, despite being snotty, coffee, fevery, and gross. We spent a lot of time cuddling with our kids. We spent a lot of time watching our kids run around because we frankly didn't have the energy to keep up with them. And God bless those kids, man. They were gracious with us. They were as patient as a 1 year old and a 4 year old could be. And when we had spurts, when the Advil kicked in, we were there. But what we learned was our house is old, it's a little drafty. And we learned that we've been blessed with a lot of blankets. We've learned that we've taken care of a lot of the stuff that we have that provided warmth for us over those 2 days. And we were also truly amazed at how God equipped us with friends close to us and people we could talk to about struggles that we were having with our heater and learning about how to clean it and maintain it during seasons like this that we didn't know we would need to do that because we're learning these things as new homeowners. Nevertheless, we were grateful for that. So let me share with you because I know you're dying to know, how have I been able to turn over a flue in such a short amount of time? That's one big way. Tea is your friend, my friends, because it is water. And yes, there's tea, and there's certainly things in there that can help you. Ginger lemon tea are a great way to go, but you want to go with teas that are not going to dehydrate you. So the least amount of caffeine in them as possible, the better. Avoid coffee, avoid dairy, because if you've got the flu and it's in your head space and all this kind of stuff, yeah, it's going to add to that mucus. Another big thing that we used was Advil to deal with the pain and the pressure in our heads, as well as the aching of the fever, just to lower it for ourselves so that we could comfortably sleep if it was a situation like that. During the day, I found myself not actually needing the Advil as much because I found it was better for my body to actually allow the fever to run its course and do its job. The fever is there to protect you, your body's way of fighting an infection. Doctors will tell you this. And I am no doctor, let me be clear. And anything that I tell you right now is not sound medical advice, just stuff that's worked for me. So, on top of the tea, I also drank a lot of water because the best way that you can get rid of something that is in this space is to flush it out of your system. One of the things that I have, because I have asthma and I've grown up with it most of my life, is I have a nasal flush system. I use Navage, which is a credible battery operated device that juts the water up your nose and takes it out at the same time. You can use an neti pot as well. I highly recommend using lukewarm to cold water, and you definitely want salt in there. Try to get a saline mixture if you can. Look up at what a saline mixture might look like for your neti pot and go from there. Warning, if you've never used a neti pot and you've never used a Navage system, it will be uncomfortable the first time. It was for me. However, it rinses your sinuses well, and it's not something that you need to do every day, but I recommend, and what I did during the process was I used it first thing in the morning when I woke up, and then I didn't use it again until the next morning. Part of the reason why I did that was because I wanted my sinuses to deal with the pressure and to sort of suffer through it a little bit, because this happens to me all the time when I'm asthmatic. I've always gotten nasal infections, and I've always gotten upper respiratory infections because of my autoimmune disease of asthma. So it's just something you live with, and it's just something you deal with. Since I moved to Houston, away from where I lived in California, my breathing's gotten a lot better, and I've actually been able to cut down on my asthma medication significantly, and I'm super grateful for how God provided for me in that regards. Nevertheless, that was a huge thing that helped me through this process. Another thing that helped, some vitamins that I took apple cider vinegar tablets as well as echinacea tablets. A friend of mine recommended them to me recently as a means to kind of bomb your system with stuff that helps elevate your immunity system while you're dealing with being sick. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, nor do I recommend this for everybody, and I never would. I'm simply telling you what worked for me. And what I can tell you is that taking those once a day over the course of this whole thing has definitely caused it to be bearable and caused it to be less of a discomfort than it would have been if I had just let it run its course in its entirety. Because the flu can run anywhere between 7 and 14 days on average. So keep that in mind as you go about your week or as you plan and deal with being sick. That's all I have to say on that subject matter, and I've talked your ear off enough about being sick. One of the things that I also reflected on is how God is ultimately the one who gets the glory in our lives. And I say this because when I stepped onto the stage on Sunday morning, I didn't think for a minute that I could sing any of the songs that were in front of me. I also was very open and transparent with my worship team and said, I have zero energy to be here today. And the truth was, based on how I was feeling leading up to that weekend, I did not want to be there. And that was hard for me to admit, but it needed to be said. And I needed to be honest with myself because I think to be anything less than honest with myself about how I was feeling going into that Sunday would have been dishonest. And I would have led from an improper heart and an improper mind in that moment to the congregation I was serving. So as I stood there and I was praying leading up to the services, God, please be my strength, be my energy, be my refuge, be my rest in the moments when I have to rest. He intervened. It was his voice working through me. It was him using the instrument that he gave me to sing his praises. Now, of course, I was playing a part because I obviously had to put the air through my vocal cords in order to produce a sound. And despite all my worry and doubt, he came through. God showed up for me. But it wasn't about me. It was about him. God showed up because he knew that someone needed to hear my voice singing that morning. He knew that I needed to be strengthened and energized so that I could serve my team best, so that I could see us through that day. Now, where I stand now, going into another weekend, because for those of you who are in worship or in church ministry, you all know sometimes Sundays feel like an unrelenting monster. Because the moment you finish one, another one's right around the corner. Now, I don't mean to say that in a way that sounds like I'm ungrateful for what I do. I am 100% grateful that God has allowed me to serve and to be paid for what I do. Truthfully, I struggle with and even find myself asking God, if there's another way for me to do what I'm doing now and get paid some other way, you provide that opportunity, because sometimes it doesn't always feel comfortable getting paid for what I do, because in my heart, it feels like it should be a service. It should be something that I do because I want to serve God. Nevertheless, I'm grateful that God has provided it to be an opportunity in which I get paid and to be able to provide for my family. However, as I go into this next weekend, I'm genuinely suspicious and worried about my voice and its ability to carry another service for another day. Now, thankfully, I have an incredible team of volunteers, both in the vocal department and in the band department, that can, in many ways, assist and aid and even take care of in my place and in my absence in some instances the responsibilities that I have on Sunday, including leading a song. But I'm also grateful to God that he's healed me so well, so quickly, that I am optimistic about my ability to sing this Sunday. And that's the thing. You may be worried right now in this season. Maybe you're sick and you know you have to show up to work in a day or two, or you only have 12 hours of sick leave to be able to go and take care of yourself, and then you have to go to work the next day. And I get it. COVID, the flu, and so many other things are very real in our lives these days, and are still things in various states that afford you the ability to take more time off than what is normal. However, it doesn't really abate the worry that we have, because every moment that takes us away from our jobs and our ability to earn an income dramatically impacts our ability to provide for our families and the people we care about, or just ourselves in general, which is, in this season of life and living in the world, a monumental task, because things are very expensive. Now, I'm not pointing fingers, and that's not what my podcast is about. This isn't a political place at all. As I said, this is a place for you to be encouraged, inspired, hopefully to do the same on your journeys wherever they may take you. So whatever journey you're on, maybe you're in a season of great health. Have you taken a moment to thank God for that? Maybe you are in a season right now where you're on the back end and you're recovering, and Thank God for that. Or maybe you are in the midst of being sick. Thank God that He has allowed your body to afford you the warning signs that you need to stop and take care of your body and you need to take care of yourself. The truth is, we all get sick. It's not something that we can always control. COVID proved that to us. It didn't matter whether we were 6 feet apart or 20 feet apart, or completely shut down or locked down. We were bound to get in contact with it, and man, did we try to contact trace like crazy. Nevertheless, it proved that sickness happens to everyone. It proved that there are a lot of things that are out of our control. No matter how much we try to effort ourselves and try to grab onto everything and I've got this, and we're trying to, there's nothing within our control. And the sooner that we can embrace that and recognize that perhaps someone greater than ourselves, God in heaven, is in control, and He knows His plans and they are good for us. And sometimes those plans are, we get sick because we need healing. If we never got sick, we would never know that we need a God who heals. If we never faced injustice, we would never know that we need a God who's just. If we weren't so prideful, we wouldn't know or need to know a God who exemplified humility by sending His only Son, Jesus, to die on a cross for us. There's a lot of things in this life that teach us about God. There are a lot of things in this life that if we would take a moment and be grateful and thank God for who He is and what He's done, even if it is afforded us the opportunity to be grateful for rest and respite in a season of sickness, no matter how short, no matter how long, and that God has also provided us an opportunity to then use that season as a testimony to His goodness and His love for us and His provision for us and His plan for our lives and the hope that we have in eternity. Wow. This life is some kind of journey. Let's never do it alone. And let's definitely reach out to each other and inspire one another. So I want you to do something for me today. In the comments section, write down what season of life you're in. If you're sick, write down you're sick. Acknowledge it. Admit that you have an issue in your life and that you're going through a difficult season. If you're not in a difficult season, comment, I'm in a great season of life. God is blessing me. Because you know what? There are people on this channel who are watching this episode who are also in that space and want to know that it's okay to celebrate and rejoice with you in the fact that God is blessing them in this season. The same goes for those who are sick or those who are hurting and those who are going through healing seasons. They want to hear and see from you that God is doing these great things in other people's lives. That is how we encourage each other on these journeys that we are on. Wherever these journeys take you, be an encouragement and an inspiration. Leave a comment in the comment section below, and I look forward to reading those together. Thanks for listening to the podcast today. My name is Andrew Geist. Thank you for liking and sharing. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you can get the notification every time I take a journey home. You can find all previous seasons and episodes for this season at ajourneyhome.blog and connect with me personally at aguysproduction.com. You can also find all of the socials below, as well as links to much, much more. I appreciate you and following and subscribing to this podcast. Now let's be kind to each other, show faith, love, and hope to those who need it. Have a great week. I'm going home.